Okay, welcome to the final move for this particular province. This is move 4, day 1, fourth geopolitical group. Midnight Hawk is going to be taking his group of misfits for a bit of a wander. So the first thing since the last video, that things that have changed, is that I have created a single story file. So in this story file I have Wild Bee, Brown Parrot, Elusive Cheetah and Midnight Hawk all in the same file. I think this is going to be a lot easier to move around and work with. So that's what I've decided to do. So I've also put some hyperlinks in so I can simply click and then move to that particular group. So starting with move 1. Okay, so move 1, I'm going to move this off screen again. I'm sorry about the inconvenience of doing that, but anyways. So a couple of things have come up. So just a recap. So Elusive Cheetah managed to get to this position here and kind of realized that they may have encountered an undead infested ruin. So they decided to bug out. They'd already had enough fun for one day, and so they've basically gone back to Devlin. Now it's kind of towards the end of the day that that's happened. So let's just try to catch up, work out what happens with Midnight Hawk, and then we'll deal with what has happened with Elusive Cheetah after we deal with Midnight Hawk. So first things first, I'm going to zoom in on the map here, and we've got some hard going overland. So they want to do a circle around. So now that they're on site, they've decided that they're going to firstly try to get to the river, to this river system. Now it's not as safe as it's safe. It's not as safe as other places they could go, but they're going to try and do that. So I'm just going to remove these strategies, go to the Fog of War, and then it's firstly a matter of how are they going to. Well, firstly, sorry, I'm going to go to place names. I'm going to select, and then I'm going to cut, and then I'm going to paste this just down a little bit lower, or a little bit higher actually. Alright, so going back to the Fog of War. So now how are they going to approach this? So the situation is there's quite a bit of mountainous terrain, so it's going to be harder going to do that. So they're going to move around the outside of this and follow this valley up, and they're now getting into this valley, and then they're going to head out across the mountains, and they're going to enter and start heading through the mountainous terrain towards the river. Now they managed to find some more, a little valley here. I think it's time for an encounter already. Alright, so we'll basically cut that there, zoom in, and we've got an unopposed movement. Alright, zooming in on it, move 1, unopposed, movement, and the number is 15170015. Okay, move 2. Alright, so going back to where they were, selecting the eraser tool again. So they're going to just trace this. Now I know that there might be the standing orders to say go right, but just tracing this, and it seems to be that it's a mountain valley, and it does seem to be heading in roughly the right direction. Okay, we've hit there again. Okay, they estimate that they've got to go through the mountains again, and going through the mountains, trying to find a pathway through. Still in mountainous terrain, and I think it's time for another movement. Now I will save it. Sorry, I will save this document right now. I realise I haven't saved for a while, which I really need to do probably at the end of every geopolitical move, just to make sure that I've got plenty of opportunity to keep the details. And I know that I could kind of retrace steps by watching the video, but let's try to avoid that and use best practice and such. So I'm going to save that. May as well save this as well. Back to here. And then I'm going to make sure I'm on black over movement and delete. And we've got, ooh. Alright. I'm gonna take that, and then I'm going to put the bucket and get rid of that, and then I'm going to go back to here. Alright, so we have found some loot. So again, I will copy this and paste it. So copying that, pasting into there, and then I need to go back to black over loot, and then I need to delete that. 28,000 worth of loot. Not a bad haul. So cutting that, pasting that, move 3. Not a bad haul. Okay, so back to here. Geopolitical strategies. I'm going to put a oops. Okay, I'm going to put a circle around where they found that loot. And then I'm going to go back to Fog of War and continue the move. Alright, so they've hit the water. Now, looking at their strategy was to do a circle. So I'm going to zoom in again, and I'm going to now continue the circle. So they're going to go along the bank of the river, and then I'm going to have I think it's time for another encounter, or another movement. Now, Paint.net is generally pretty reliable. We don't generally have too many troubles with it since I've been playing with it. But the file does get big. And what I've been trying to do is keep everything in one file. And in between the last live stream and this one, I've added Baron 5 Urban Undead, and that may have just tipped this over the edge. So it may be that I need to create a second file, one that just has Baron 5, 6, 7, 8 Urban Undead as a separate file altogether. So yeah, that might be the best way to approach it, because it does seem to have slowed down quite a bit. Anyway, so back to Black Over movement. Zooming out. Okay, selecting location. Zooming in on it. Oops. Okay, so first things first. This area here, don't need that to be uncovered. Then I'm going to delete what have we got here? Another one. Unopposed movement, draw loot card. So that's not bad again. And we'll copy that, and then we'll paste that, and then we'll basically draw another loot card. So again, going back to the loot, going back to Black Over loot, deleting far out 45,000 worth of loot. Yep, these guys are rolling in it. So yeah, so alright, so the problem is there's a few problems. So firstly, we did discuss previously about the finding of loot and what to do with it and how to move around with it. So first things first, this is where they found the first lot of loot, and it skipped my mind at the time. While I'm at it, I'm just going to go up and put another circle around this loot here. So, alright, so they found 28,000 worth of loot. Now, problem is that's in this mountainous terrain here. Now, let's just say that they, hypothetically speaking, they decide that enough's enough and they need to get out of here. Now, they could go and take a boat. They could get a boat from Mitishchi, and then they could take the boat down the river to this location, and they can unload it. Now, the other option is they can go to Klet with the loot. Now, it's a lot of loot, and I think I spoke previously in a live stream that if each member of the group can carry 1,000 silver pieces worth of loot, for example. So let's just check the characters in this group. All right, so the characters in this group, now nobody is from Klep, and nobody is from Renegade, and nobody is from Matishchi. Now, what that means is that effectively they're now carrying a bucket load of wealth that they need to work out how to deal with that. So they could go back over the mountains, but I'm going to make it so that maybe their movement rate or what they can carry is much reduced because of that. They could leave it in place and just come back for it. That's another option as well. But let's just say that they make it back to Klet on foot. So at the end of take loot back to Deblin. All right, so they're going to take the loot back to Deblin to store loot at Master. So yeah, it's a Master Runner. Master Runner Midnight Hawk's place. All right. Let's just say that they've done that and made their way all the way back here, and then they're really, really enthusiastic about having found, 28,000 silver pieces worth of loot in the morning. Now, let's just say that they decide to go back again and retrace their steps, and then only to find another 45,000 silver pieces worth of loot. Now, there's absolutely no way they can carry that much loot in one trip, so let's just say that they go back and forward, back and forward, back and forward, and they manage to get back to Deblin by late at night. Okay, so take loot back to Deblin in multiple trips. All right, so we've now got these. We've now got this extremely wealthy group of individuals. So I'm just going to do a brief rundown of how like a breakdown of the values of these things. So, all right, so we've got 28,107 plus 45,197. So 73,000 silver pieces for a day's work. All right. Now, looking at the first things first, we've got the sponsor is receiving like a 20% share of that. So it's Yeah, so 14,660. Right. Okay, so yeah, so the reveal that I was going to talk about before, just quickly, in closing of day 1 for Stockark, the province of Stockark, I need to basically address the undead infested areas and stuff like that. So, for example, elusive cheetah has penetrated into this area here and started the circle that they intended to create, and then they've encountered this. Now the skull and crossbones, I'm going to now reveal that. Okay, so I've created these skull and crossbones on the map. Now they're hidden by the fog of war. Now what I'm intending to do is undead icons. So I'm going to do this. So I'm going to copy that. Oops. And then I'm going to paste it. So I'm going to cut it. And then I'm going to go back to the fog of war and I'm going to paste it. Oops. That's not what I wanted. Oops. All right. Okay. Right, so now I've made it so that this skull and crossbones is present on both the undead icons layer and also on the fog of war layer, just so that people can see that. Now I'm going to also reveal something else, which is that this is the undead infested hamlet of Reguvele. Reguvele? Yeah, so the thing is that people know historically that there used to be towns and villages, hamlets and farms. There are records of the names of these places and like an approximation of, that it's over that way. So yeah, so basically the big reveal for day 1 is firstly that one group found quite a bit of loot, and then the second is that they've also found an undead infested hamlet. So anyway, I'm going to end this live stream at this point. As I've mentioned, you can basically send a message to me, give me a call, and I'll answer some questions that way. Or you can check out renegadelarp.com